I'm bringing on Celine Verleure. She's out of Paris, and she is the creative director and the owner of Olfactive Studio. So, what's going on?
Hello, everyone. I'm perfect. I'm fine. Thank you.
Well, let's dive into Olfactive Studio a little bit.
I started in 1993, so it's almost 26 years ago, when I joined Kenzo Perfumes. It's a fashion brand, Japanese fashion brand in Paris, and I created 5 fragrances for them, especially Kenzo Jangle. Maybe you know this fragrance, and Lo by Kenzo. So I started the perfumes creation, and I had the chance to work with very famous perfumer at that time. I was pretty young, but I started with Dominique Ropion, with Olivier Cresp, with a lot of them. So that's how I started to create. And I didn't have perfume school background, because I did a business school, so marketing. But I immediately was passionate with the creation, and I think I learned step by step how to speak with the perfumers, how to work step by step with them and give our feedbacks. I had a very good teacher because the owner of the brand at that time was 65 years old, so he had a long career in the perfume creation. He really taught me. His name is Pierre Bro, and he's still living, and he really taught me how to create perfumes. At that time, it was impossible to launch a brand, perfumes brand, because at that time everything was about advertising, and huge amount of advertising. So I really started to think about creating my own brand in 2009, so 2 years before launching it, when I saw that it was really the beginning of social media for brands, and I saw other brands doing some buzz about their product on Facebook at that time, not Instagram. And then I thought that, okay, if I remember a cookies brand called Michel et Augustin in France, and I remember they were talking about how they did buzz without any money, and I say, okay, now I'm sure that people will like to understand the behind the scenes of the perfume creation. And I opened a page on Facebook called the blog of the perfume, which does not exist yet, and I started to create with the community, to create the brand concept and the idea of Olfactive Studio. So it started online.
Wow. So did the years before, your years of experience, fully prepare you, or did you have a lot of moments where you're like, I wish I had known this?
I was confident about perfume creation, and I knew everybody in the field, so I was confident about that. Then I had the chance to make the buzz before the launch, thanks to Facebook. So I really had 5,000 fans when I launched the brand. So it was easier to find the first stores, the first bloggers to speak about it. And I had a release in the French Elle magazine before the launch, so it was really great.
Very impressive.
Ah.
So I'm going to back up a little bit. As you were kind of conceptualizing this brand, were there other concepts you thought of and didn't eventually come to fruition?
Yes. So I proposed to my fans at the time, and we voted for that. I proposed 2 concepts. The first one was Olfactive Studio, so each perfume inspired by an artistic photography and a photo. And the second one was called Unique, and it was an idea of layering and making perfume unique by mixing other perfumes.
Will you tell us what exactly is Olfactive Studio?
So Olfactive Studio is, I would say, a contemporary fragrance brand inspired by photography. So it means that the photo is the brief to the perfumer, and the emotions of each photo really gives inspiration to the perfumers to create. So I try to gather in the same room the photographer and the perfumer to speak about the photography, and if I take any of them, to speak about the photography, and to I have a second one here, like flashback in New York in the snow, and we speak about the photo, what we feel about it, and which ingredients or which scent we imagine with this picture. So what I do is I go to all art galleries, art fairs in Paris usually, and when I see a picture that for me is smelling something good, inspiring me, then I choose it and I decide to have it as a inspiring picture for the perfumer.
Such a unique concept. It is said that a picture or photo is worth 1,000 words.
I like the idea.
So how much flexibility and latitude do your perfumers have?
I think they have a more latitude than if I would give them words or marketing profile or even some brief include really ingredients. I never really give ingredients or very precise paths, because I like to be surprised also.
Okay.
So the first meeting with the photographer and the perfumer, we really speak about the picture and we don't speak about the fragrance. And then, or we start to think about it. But I like when the perfumer on the second meeting is starting proposing scents, and sometimes it's not the most obvious one that we choose.
Here's a question from Centifolia. Her question is, your perfumes are inspired by travel. Rio and New York are great destinations. Where would you like to take us next?
Yes, I saw the question yesterday. In fact, Rio and New York are two cities that I know very well because I traveled a lot there, and I also lived in Rio for 2 years. So I have a special history with these two cities, a history that I don't have with other cities. It doesn't mean that I will not create perfumes inspired by another city, but it's not so obvious. I will need to find the right picture and to really get inspiration. Maybe if a perfumer lived in I don't know, Moscow or Shanghai, or I don't know, maybe if I find a link between the city and the perfumer, it would be easier. But for the time being, I think these two are I will not. I'm not thinking about a third one for the time being. I prefer to choose picture for which I have a crush. You know, I love at first sight. Usually these are the best. Sometimes it's hard to get the right to use it, so sometimes I have to really look for another one. But when I have a crush on the picture, I usually stay on this, you know, I keep it.
That's fair. There's a question here from Anna Dor. Since you lived in Rio, do you speak any Portuguese?
Yeah, eu falo português, sim. Eu posso falar.
All right.
I do, yeah. I lived 2 years there. I was importing French wines in Brazil.
Oh.
So I was also in the wine. I
okay.
Courses in Portuguese of enology.
Okay.
It's another passion.
Is there any crossover from the wine world to fragrances?
Oh, it's very, very close. But I never created perfumes inspired by wine. But
okay.
No, but the way we speak about both is the same. The adjectives and the way we smell, so it's very close. If you look at a picture, inspired picture like Ombre Indigo, this picture, by the way, is a Brazilian guy walking in the sunset in a river. He's not a Buddhist monk, as I heard a lot. And for example, the perfumer, Mylène Alran, she was at Robertet at that time, and she decided to put some saffron because of the color of the paint. So she translated the pictures into ingredients because of the color. Sometimes the colors of the picture are close to the color of the ingredients, of some of the ingredients.
Okay.
Or like if we choose Lumière Blanche, this very, very nice picture from famous photographer Massimo Vitali in Italy. It looks like an iceberg, but it's a rock in Sicily. It's very warm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very milky, you know, it's very white. And we did create, it's like a white cocoon. We did create the fragrance with almond milk, iris, sandalwood, giving this creamy and milky taste.
How do you go from the photo to choosing the right perfumer?
Yeah, it's true that when I choose a picture, it gives me a direction. Like if I chose a picture of Panorama, which is very green. So by the way, it's Los Angeles from the Goldstein house. Of course, I knew it would be a green fragrance. I chose the perfumer, Clément Gavary, who already did this kind of fragrances, already had the taste for green perfumes. When I did Close Up with Annick Menardot, I wanted to have a mysterious and very ambery, very tobacco fragrance, and so I thought that Annick Menardot was the right person to create it. So I really choose the perfumer depending on the name of the fragrance, which I choose either before the picture or after, and the picture itself. Yes, it's like
Okay.
pairing. I start the pairing with the choice of the perfumer.
And I'm assuming that the intimate knowledge you have about the idiosyncrasies of these perfumers came from your time working before you had your brand.
And I can say that I'm really lucky. These famous perfumers accept to work with a tiny, at the time it was tiny, a young brand like mine. The next collection will be created by Dominique Ropion. I presented it at Essence last year, but it was not totally ready, and it was postponed to next spring. So the 3 flowers, a rose, an iris, and a violet will be launched next March. But Dominique Ropion usually is not working with niche brands. He has so much work with major brands. But he accepted because he knew me, because we had done Kenzo Jangle 20 years ago. So he said, okay, I accept it.
Very nice, very nice. Here's a question from one of our audience. This is Yo Beanard. His question is, have you ever considered trying to take your own photos and using them for inspirations?
You know, I'm a very bad photographer, I must say. It's a passion. I love to collect and to watch at photography, but I'm not a very good photographer. So I wouldn't do that.
What is the story behind Ombre Indigo?
I saw it in a photography newsletter, in fact, in France, and it's from Gustavo Pelisson, who is a Brazilian photographer. And when I saw this picture, I thought, wow, there is a lot of shadows. And I said, what would what would a shadow smell? And I decided to create the perfume of the shadows. And it's shadows and also a lot of colors, very colorful, you know. And so I really love this picture from the beginning, and so I asked a perfumer to translate the shadows, and she did it with a lot of smokes, so a lot of incense, a lot of papyrus, benzoin. So it's very smoky. It's very smoky, but inside the smoke you have all the colors. So you have the tuberose, you have the saffron, which gives really a lot of character to the perfume. So it's smokes and tuberose.
Would you explain the collections and how they fit together?
Yes. So I started in 2011 with 3 fragrances: Autoportrait, Self-Portrait, Chambre Noire, and Still Life. At that time, I launched it with a standard bottle. And a few years after, I was copied by another brand who chose the same bottle, same cap, and everything. And so I decided to have to change the bottle to have a unique one and to have my own glass mold. So that's what I did in 2016. That's why it changed the bottle, and sometimes the stores you still have both. And also I started to change the 100 ml, and now next spring, I will have the 50 ml with the new shape. And the bottle is inspired, the new bottle is inspired by photography. If you look at the details, yeah, I have the same way. This is like zoom of the camera and also the lens behind. So all details are into photography, and also the box looks like, I would say, Ilford photo paper box. This is the black collection, and this is our new collection, the sepia collection. So you really see it looks like a photo paper box. You always have the visual that inspired the fragrance inside of the box. That's the presentation. Also, the pictures always feature on the pack. At the beginning, I didn't want to give any name. I thought people would shoot their perfumes with only the picture, but it's not so easy when a perfume doesn't have a name. So yeah, yes. The first collection was the black one, and then I created the sepia one last year with 3 fragrances in extrait de parfum concentration. So it's more concentrated, it's 20% instead of 15. And I started with 3 perfumes by Bertrand Duchaufour. One is a leather shot. The second one is a chypre shot. And the third one is the vanilla shot.
Yeah. I really like the vanilla shot.
I have now 17 perfumes, so, and I was happy that it shows a flashback, because I think it's a very nice one, easy to understand, but very original. It's flashback by Olivier Cresp, who is a perfumer that I really appreciate. It's a tangy and citrusy fragrance. Yeah,
I love the rhubarb in the opening. I sprayed it on, and this is going to be one for springtime.
Yes, and it's 25% of vetiver from Haiti.
Yeah,
what is very nice vetiver at the same time. Very unisex. You know, all of them are unisex, but this one particularly.
Yeah, I don't really see gender in fragrances, but this is, definitely unisex. What is the concentration on this collection?
It's eau de parfum.
Okay, EDP. Okay.
EDP, yes.
So, Celine, can you tell us a little bit about your wonderful discovery sets?
Yes, I think it's important for people to wear perfumes before buying it. So I think discovery kits are really an important part for us, and especially now that people are buying more and more online. So I created 2 discovery sets, one with the fresh perfumes and one with the warmer ones. These are 4 ml glass sprays. In 2 months, we'll have new discover kits with slightly different fragrances. We added flashback in New York.
Celine, what's the cost of discovery sets?
Oh, that's a tricky question. In Europe, it's 45 euros, and in dollars, I think it's $55.
Okay.
We have 2 prices depending on the currency.
Understood.
For 5 perfumes.
What is your personal favorite from your own line?
I have 2 favorites. One I'm using today, which is Panorama, the green one, because it's a mix of all green notes, especially wasabi, and but it's enveloped with myrrh, which gives a very good combination. Very, very edgy fragrances, not for everybody. So this one is my day perfume. And Lumière Blanche, which I presented to you before, is my relaxing, I would say, pillow scent. Because I like to have a perfume to sleep with.
Yeah.
Not only to go out, to sleep with. So it's Lumière Blanche, very relaxing.
I've got a question here from Olfaction Obsession. Are you ever inspired by a perfumer? Do you have a perfumer in mind and you say, well, I'm going to pick a photo because of that perfumer's talent?
I've never done that, but I have some perfumers in mind with whom I would like to work with, like Maurice Roussel, Who else? Yeah, for maybe Antoine Lee. I have some perfumers in mind, but I haven't done the exercise to look for a picture. I don't think I will look for a picture to work with them. I think it will be on the other side. No, I still prefer to start with a picture.
What's ahead for the house of Olfactive Studio?
I'm working on a fragrance for the 10th anniversary, so it will be launched September 2021. Yeah, it lasts a long time, or at least I don't like to be in a hurry, you know. So if I want to present it, I will present it like at Excellence in 2021. So it's I have 1 year, which is not too much to create it. And I decided to work with the same perfumer again, Sidonie Lancesseur, the one who did Lumière Blanche, because I love to work with her, and she understood what immediately, and so it was too short to work with her because she found the notes of Lumière Blanche immediately. So I really wanted to work again with her, and I thought it would be comfortable because it's not easy to change the perfumer each time I'm doing a project. So we are at the beginning now. I have the name. I'm looking for the picture, and so we didn't really start the creation. I really have to find the picture now. To get the direction. So it will be the 10th anniversary in September 2021.
When working with a perfumer, is it more enjoyable when you have several iterations, when you have to go back and forth and make changes? Is it more fun, is that process, as opposed to they make something, you go, oh my God, you nailed it?
Yeah, sometimes it's frustrating when you find immediately, like with Bertrand Duchaufour, I did now 4 of them, 4 fragrances with him, Woody Mood and the 3 first sepia, and he's very talented, very he has a lot of imagination. So usually the creation process is very quick, and sometimes it's too quick. Bertrand, I didn't have time to see you really.
What are your 3 top sellers?
It depends on the region of the world. I would say these days it's more my freshest fragrances, Flashback and Still Life in Rio. But when I was selling more in the Middle East, it was more Chambre Noire, which you like. The Russian love Ombre Indigo a lot, the smoky notes. So it really depends when I'm selling more in one region of the world or the other. Now that I'm started selling in China, they love also the fresh fragrances. The taste of each country is very different.
Interesting. What is a market that you're trying to get into?
I'm in 30 countries, so most of the countries. But I tried to enter Brazil because of my background, and I didn't manage yet. It was blocked at the customs for 4 years, so it's it's over. And I need to develop more in Middle East, but I don't think my fragrances are really created for Middle East.
Who do you think your fragrances are created for?
I don't have in mind a special character or type of people. And I think I'm always surprised when I see portraits of people, when you know, people take a picture and put it on Instagram with a bottle. I'm always surprised. So I really don't have it in mind. And I'm totally against the marketing trend of doing studies and trying to target a special type of a group of people. I really think it's an artistic creation, and art is not about targeting.
Thank you so much for sharing that insight. That is very, very, very real. So thank you for sharing that insight.
I think perfume is an art, you know, and an art should be really spontaneous and bold and creative and not too rational.
Where do you see Olfactive Studio fitting in with all the changes that's happening with, IFRA and all the sustainability issues? How do you see Olfactive Studio fitting in with that?
About the IFRA, I really hope not to have to change my formula. I didn't have to do it in 9 years, but I know some other brands that were started earlier had to reformulate because of the legal constraints. I hope I will not have to do it because I don't think it's an interesting work, The sustainability, and I think we need to start to work on it with all perfumes brands, because I don't like to throw an empty glass bottle in the garbage. So I think it should be refillable. So I'm thinking about it, but to have a refillable bottle, I need to have another glass mold, because in some parts of the world I cannot sell it if it's refillable, because people drink it, so it's forbidden. So I have to now have another mold, another one, to be able to have a refillable bottle. But I think in the near future, because it's changing very quickly, I think I will do refillable bottles. I think it's and also, when you have like Italian leather on this, I think you don't want to throw it away and buy another one. It should be you should be able to reuse it. So yes, I think I'm conscious about it. It's not so easy to implement, but I have it in mind.
I've got a question here from Eternal Scent Journey, who you may have met.
I did at Essence.
At Essence, right? His question is, what is your opinion on layering fragrances, or fragrances specifically?
Yeah, I do some layering with my fragrances. I'm using a lot Autoportrait, which is a cedarwood plus vetiver, which I'm layering with other fragrances. I'm layering it with Lumière Blanche, or I'm layering Lumière Blanche with this mild accord with some other scents. So I'm doing it, and I like to play like this. I would say not with all fragrances. If fragrance is already very complex, if you layer too complex fragrances, it can be a wreck.
Yeah.
But if the fragrance is quite easy to understand, I think it's funny to layer.
So, Celine, thank you so much for the opportunity to share the vision of Olfactive Studio with my audience. I'm looking forward to meeting you again at Essence next year. Anything you would like to share with us before we wrap up?
No, I was very happy to talk with all of you. I will read the comment because I didn't have time to read the comments and the questions. But if you ask a question that I didn't answer, I will try to follow up afterwards to really give more answers. And you can also write to me directly either on Instagram. I'm the one who is answering Instagram. I prefer to do it by myself. So I will answer to you. I think it's interesting, and I like when people are curious about a brand and want to know more about the behind the scene of the perfume creation. So I'm always happy to answer to the questions. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Bye-bye.